Good morning. Welcome to Thursday, where we've discovered I know too much about the XFL. Oh, thank you for joining us today.
She hate me. There you go.
Yeah. So I am Danielle. Hello. Nice to see you. I have got Spencer, Riley, Dan. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today. We're going to be talking more Spider-Man, because why wouldn't we? We're going to be talking about the reactions to the Spidey drama. We have got a Streaming Wars update. And, oh, baby, it wouldn't be a good day if we didn't talk about MoviePass messing up.
Are we going to have the director of marketing on?
Chloe, the director of marketing, is here to answer your questions.
Someday. First, we do want to start off, as I'm sure many of you know, about the fires in the Amazon, the rainforest. The world's on fire, y'all. And so if you are looking for more information and ways you can help, we are going to have Ryan drop a link in the description down below, because this is important and the world should not be on fire.
Everyone likes breathing.
Everyone likes breathing, it turns out.
Yeah, fan of it.
I mean, it's so laborious and required. I don't know.
I can't stop. I like it so much.
Can't stop, won't stop. So
I binge breathe. I breathe a lot all at once, and then I don't for a while.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just the way I do it.
You should have a doctor look into that.
I should.
Yeah, it sounds horribly unhealthy.
So,
I'm technically dead.
You're just cycling through death.
Well, if you don't want to be Dan, donate to the rainforest.
Yes,
Don't be like Dan. Read about the rainforest.
Yes, please,
Be a Spencer,
please.
don't be a Dan.
Yeah.
It's a very serious issue.
It's very
You
serious.
can laugh about it, or you can just curl up into a ball.
Yeah.
And curling up into the ball, that's what happened when we're not on camera. That's for later in the office. All right, so Sony and Spider-Man going forward. As this moves forward after the falling out of Sony Disney, we wanted to check in on the future of Sony's many Spider-Man projects. So we've got Tom Holland, who is expected to return for another Spider-Man film. It is said that Sony wants Homecoming and Far From Home director John Watts back, but he has not signed a new deal yet. We also know about the recently announced Lord & Miller development deal with Sony TV that will involve live-action series based on Spider-Man characters, but we don't have any other details. We don't know if it's going to be connected to the movies, or if it's going to be connected to Spider-Verse, although we do know that Spider-Verse 2 is in the works. No release date, no production start. And then last year, THR, The Hollywood Reporter, also said that there is a spin-off that's going to be focusing on Spider-Gwen. I know you're happy about that.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that. Yeah.
Riley is a huge Spider-Girl fan.
Just a little bit,
Spider-Gwen fan. And other female characters are going to be in the works. It's not confirmed yet, and Lord & Miller are going to be involved in that. Please, I hope so. And then, of course, we've got Venom Part 2. Venom. Knock, not like the venom in. And
Knock, knock, it's Eddie Brock.
I'm rapping and bapping it.
In a Ford Taurus. Singing the chorus.
If you haven't seen that Chris D'Elia clip of him pretending to be Eminem,
Late
watch
stage
that.
Eminem, yeah.
Watch that after you're done watching us be silly. And that's going to be directed by Andy Serkis, which is very exciting. That opens in October 2020. And then there is the Morbius movie, which I still can't believe is happening.
Yeah.
But I've been told it is. It's based on the vampiric Spider-Man villain who I guess just haunted like college campuses. And it's going to be starring Jared Leto. It is completed
Also
production.
He feeds off of flies. Sorry, I said that. That was great.
Apologies.
No, that was my bad. That was your joke was the better one.
So yeah, that's starring Jared Leto. That is completed production and opens next July. What else is there for me to read? The original Deadline report said that Disney had asked Sony for a 50-50 financing and profit-sharing deal, but the Hollywood Reporter says Disney had been seeking a co-financing arrangement on upcoming movies, looking for at least a 30% stake, which is a lot of stake. Sony, which counts Spider-Man as one of its only reliable money-making franchises, Shade, said no before both sides walked away. It is true. It's not shade if it's true, I guess.
Yeah, is it shame when it's on yourself? When it's your own? Like...
Yeah. And so we know that there's going to be a Tom Holland Far From Home sequel. We've got Venom 2, Morpheus, Spider-Verse, Lord & Miller live-action TV series. Does it seem like they have a good game plan going forward, or is it just too much Spider-Man all at once?
I like if Morpheus is in the Spider-Verse.
Morpheus.
He's not in Matrix 4. He's decided that...
What if I told you didn't need Kevin Feige?
That'd be amazing if franchises could trade just side characters in instead of the main thing, yeah, I'd watch
I think that's what MCU does.
Kind of,
You guys want
yeah.
Maria Hill for this movie? Okay,
Yeah,
you can
fine.
have her. Okay, we'll take Black Widow for this Captain America movie. Cool.
Yes,
we'll take...
we are rich in spider folk and spider content. If you like spiders or spider adjacent things,
Or men's.
you are spoiled these days. Back in my day, there was one Spider-Man movie, and it was good, and it also had a man named Tom in it. And look, all of this depends on whether it's good or not. And with Lord and Miller, I have more confidence that it'll be good than it won't, assuming that they are Feigeing everything up and getting their hands on it. But
For 9 figures, they better be.
they better be. But also, Sony has the long and distinguished career of stepping on rakes over and over again when it comes to managing Spider-Man.
Especially the third movie in the franchise.
And they can't get to 3,
Great
like
time
Half-Life.
to lose your creative partners
Yeah.
right on that third movie, which they've always nailed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think that like Feige already? Do you think they already have a script for the next Spider-Man movie? No. Maybe like a pitch or a
I'm
premise.
sure there's a pitch.
Yeah, I'm sure they had a grand outline for how it was going to fit into the MCU and also fit into the next Avengers movie eventually. and
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I think they can, but maybe they have to throw that out now. So I think that they have enough talent surrounding them that they can like coast this spider train for like 3-4 movies before it runs out of gas and they have to burn to the ground again. That said, I think something that was lost in the Sony discussion yesterday is even their terrible Spider-Man movies make a lot of money.
Yes, they do.
A lot of money, like almost not as much as the MCU Spider. Obviously, they're breaking records and stuff like that. But Amazing Spider-Man made $700 million, which is a lot of money if you're keeping all of it. So even if they're bad, they can get a few more out and live to fight another day.
Amazing Spider-Man 2, compared to how much it cost and the marketing costs involved and what it made worldwide for a franchise you're trying to grow was not...
Same thing with Spider-Man 3, like the cost kept going up.
And Spider-Man 3, famously, Sam Raimi didn't want to do Venom, and Sony was like, you're doing Venom. Now, I know it's a different creative team and a different leadership team, but, you know... At the same time, I still think this is stupid for both sides.
I agree.
And as far as Sony goes, supply and demand. The rules is that if somebody likes something once, flood the market with it, and they'll all become successful.
Every single one of them. It doesn't water down your product at all.
And I know that people say like, well, Marvel does it. Like Marvel, the MCU is several miniature franchises inside of one overarching brand.
Yeah.
It's not like you're making 3 Thor movies a year.
Right.
Whereas with Sony, it's like if you make 18 Spider-Man products every year, then people are at some point going to get sick of Spider-Man. I'm worried about people getting sick. I'm worried about myself getting sick of Marvel with just the amount of stuff that they're programming year-round on Disney+. Is there going to be a point at which I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I've had it. And then Tom Rothman took over in the wake of the interview.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the guy I was. It's weird. Which Tom Rothman do you go with? The Tom Rothman that was at Fox and was like part of Avatar and Titanic, or the Tom Rothman who, and this is true, I was reading about it. This is true. Was the one who said Deadpool will never work. As a matter of fact. Don't even sew his mouth shut. That concept will never work.
Yeah.
So
it's also like, when you talk about like Titanic and Avatar, it's like Tom Rothman can't overpower Jim Cameron, but he can overpower like Mark Webb anybody who's like coming in as a director who doesn't have like you would hope that if you're going to bring on John Watts that like he's like, I've made 2 of these and they've both made a lot of money, so let me do what I'm doing. But that didn't stop them with Sam Raimi and Spider-Man 3. So I don't know what's going to happen with it next.
yeah, they pushed Raimi around when he was at the helm of a massively successful, at that point, the most successful comic book franchise, I think probably of all time, where Batman was at the time and where Superman was at the time, definitely of that time. Even then, with Spider-Man 3, they pushed him around and said, well, you can't, no, you have to do this. And that's where you get in trouble. Yeah. That's where you get in trouble. So I remain skeptical that this is a good move for anyone involved and hope that they figure something out. This is dumb to me.
I think that like the nice thing about it being about having the Tom Holland Spider-Man in the MCU is that it's like almost paradoxical because he's part of this much bigger universe, but it almost reins in their ability to do too much outside Spider-Man stuff because like they can't make any of their other Spider-Man movies like Venom and Morbius and all kinds of stuff they can't make those connect to the MCU movies because they don't have the rights to it on that end. So I feel like having this Spider-Man be the MCU Spider-Man almost like protects him a little bit from that other wall. Oh, sorry, that like 900 characters or whatever. Whereas like, even though it's in the MCU, and even though they're even like, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. I loved the last 2 movies. I do think that there is some merit to the criticism that, especially in Far From Home, they're leaning him to being more towards being like a young Iron Man than they were being towards Spider-Man. But I felt like they were getting more towards Spider-Man, like having him bring his senses in at the end and stuff like that. But like, I still think that it was more the strongest version of Spider-Man we've seen on the live-action big screen yet.
Yeah, I would just question, Into the Spider-Verse was a fantastic movie.
I liked it more than
Oscar
Far From Home,
winner.
but
I love that movie.
I think it was my favorite movie of last year.
Yeah.
It did not set the box office on fire.
Yeah.
It did well. It did well largely because it was a very good movie. But, I mean, the market at least spoke, particularly initially, to how much they will support something that's not a live-action Spider-Man movie. And if I were Sony, I would say, like, we made a fantastic movie. But if we're banking everything on this being our keystone franchise, Into the Spider-Verse was not a runaway box office success. Venom was. Venom absolutely was. But is that, are you going to stake everything on that? Because Venom was also like this weird ass, crazy lightning in a bottle. I don't know if you can do that again type thing. That was a weird combination of Tom Hardy and I don't know what else.
You can get at least, you can get another Venom. You're getting another Venom, and people are going to go see it. Are you kidding? Like, especially if they can now put Spider-Man in it and Woody Harrelson's Carnage.
Carnage.
Seeing all 3, directed by Andy Serkis. This sounds like the most bizarre movie ever made, and I think that the elephant in the room is that people don't pay to see animated movies theatrically in America. So the fact that it made money at all is like, oh, nice. Wow, people actually showed up. Spider-Man is a cash cow, live-action Spider-Man. And it's Sony's, it can't be overstated, it is Sony's only reliable franchise. They've lost Ghostbusters. They've lost Men in Black. I don't know what else they have, but it can't be very good because I'm not thinking of it. Rule of threes. But Spider-Man is the only thing keeping that studio alive.
But Disney wasn't just asking for it. I'm not saying that either studio's in the right here. As I said, both dumb, I think. But Disney wasn't just saying, like, we're going to take the money. They were offering to co-finance these movies.
That's the thing.
You're also taking some of the burden off of the studio as far as the upfront costs. So it's not as if Disney came in and was just like, I'm taking your milk money, too bad. It was like, we want to work a co-financing agreement. Now, I agree, Disney has the leverage because they are what they are and Sony is what they are. I'm not saying what they offered was fair, but also the idea that like Disney just came and was like, I'm taking your money. It was like, no, they're trying to work out a co-financing deal, which does take some of that risk off of Sony up front.
That's how a lot of the audience criticism has been like misinterpreting it. A lot of people like Disney just wanted way more money. It's like, no, they wanted to be co-producing these movies.
Yeah, but you got to look at like the scale of how much these movies cost to make, like $200 million to make and then market and stuff like that. So that's $100 million that you're getting. And I don't know, I'm bad at math, but somebody look at what giving up 30% of a popular Spider-Man movie is versus, but you get $100 million back. Like, I still think Sony's losing money in that scenario. If you have $1 billion movie and you have to give away 30% of it, you're giving away $300 million, but Disney gave you $100 million, you're still leaving money on the table, I think. I don't know.
70% of $1 billion is $700 million, which is
I'll take it.
right around where Spider-Man movies were doing before Far From Home came out. If you don't adjust for inflation, which is like that's the whole thing worldwide. Trust me, I've tried. But I don't know. It just seems. I think this is posturing. I think this is posturing, and I think they're going to work something out.
Yeah, I think it's companies leaking information from each other, trying to influence the market, and I think that the market responded in a way that will make them influenced. So,
would you want to see Tom Holland in a Far From Home sequel, assuming that he does, assuming that they don't work this out? Or sorry, Tom Hardy, do you want him to come in and do some of his weird improv or like a?
Oh yeah, I definitely wanted the Toms.
You want the Toms to hang out?
Yeah,
2 Toms.
Yeah, Tom 2 Toms, one movie. Who wouldn't want Tom Hardy and Tom Holland to just be weird on screen together? I think that'd be great.
Super pumped. Let's get weird.
Just need to be Spider-Man. I wonder
if that might be a bargaining chip. I wonder if in the negotiations, Sony's just like, okay, but we are also going to negotiate. We will do X amount of things at a 70-30 split, but we also reserve the right to do Spider-Man versus Venom as a Sony production, separate and apart from the MCU, because we think this movie, I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable. Sony's looking for a bargaining chip, that they kind of get both worlds. They get to co-produce with Marvel, but they also get to do their own thing in their own direction.
One nuance I still don't quite have an answer for is Disney talking about getting 30% of all Spider-Man movies with his name in the title, or anything that Sony makes in the Spider-Verse.
I mean, it sounds like just the movies they were co-financing, which would mean the MCU Spider-Man movies. But again, none of us have seen what was proposed.
They had to redo the deal to let Endgame Infinity War.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to negotiate for Endgame and Infinity War. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, like and subscribe. The bell lives in our hearts forever, so smash it. This is SJU on Fandom. We've also got some great stuff on fandom.com. We have Fandom Uncovered. Again, we sent Roth to a D&D convention, and she had a grand old time, so go check that out. Make sure that you share it with your friends, because it's really heartfelt and it made me happy. So next, we're going to talk about some of
we want to we're asked to clarify one thing. So the Lord and Miller deal is a TV deal.
Yes, the Lord and Miller deal is a TV deal.
Yeah.
We don't know what they're involved in
separate
at all. I just want to make sure that
we don't know.
And the thing about Lord and Miller, Lord and Miller's deal too, is that like they can't. Like Sony can't necessarily give Lord and Miller the Spider-Man franchise as a movie franchise, because now Lord and Miller have this first look deal with Universal. So if Lord and Miller wanted to be brought on for Spider-Man, like Sony would have to like negotiate with Universal to not make them take their first look.
Sure fans are aware that
Yeah, because I got confused by it too, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it is a TV deal, and obviously the studio drama has caused reactions both from fans and from people who are involved. On top of the giant reaction outreach from fans of both studios, are like Jeremy Renner backed away from his piano and his guitar and his microphone and tweeted, "Hey, at Sony Pictures, we want Spider-Man back to at the real Stan Lee and at Marvel, please. Thank you. Hashtag congrats. Hashtag Spider-Man rocks. Hashtag an emoji of a crossbow. Hashtag please."
That's a long bow. That's not a crossbow.
Sorry. I should have consulted Gina Davis first. She could have told me. She would have made me aware. And TMZ just released an article today. Stan Lee's daughter, JC Lee, had a lot to say about Marvel and Disney executives' treatment of Stan Lee outside of the public eye. She said, "Marvel and Disney seeking total control of my father's creations must be checked and balanced by others who, while still seeking to profit, have genuine respect for Stan Lee and his legacy. Whether it's Sony or someone else, the continued evolution of Stan's characters and his legacy deserves multiple point of view." And here's where it gets real dirty, depending on how this actually played out. "When my father died, no one from Marvel or Disney reached out to me. From day one, they have my father's work and never shown him or his legacy any respect or decency. In the end, no one could have treated my father worse than Marvel and Disney's executives." Ouch.
Whether she finds out about Jack Kirby.
Oh, God.
I mean, you're not wrong, buddy.
Yeah, that sucks. That does suck.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, if nobody reached out, that does suck.
That's awful.
I would say it's, and maybe she just means privately, but I do think they have shown him and his legacy both respect. And, I mean, they seemed very engaged, and particularly when he passed, memorializing him, et cetera, which I know is not the same as I don't know what happened behind the scenes.
And wasn't there, I don't know the details, but wasn't there like a lot of scandal before he died of how his like family was treating him, stuff like that? So that's a whole mess too. So it's like, but I'm saying like this whole conversation is so murky because there's stuff we don't know is happening behind. Like I mean
that wasn't ever accusing of like Marvel Disney of elder abuse. It was like his caretaker manager.
Right, but I'm saying like there's a whole bunch of murkiness. So like statements coming out from different people is like it's hard to know who's telling exactly what happened or whatnot. So
I first of all, Jeremy Renner, I don't think he quite. Nobody took Spider-Man from Stan Lee. Stan Lee is not a corporate entity unto himself. He always was the creator of Spider-Man. But that's also like, I mean, I don't, this idea that actors should be 100% versed in everything involving business is just like, he goes on set and he shoots an arrow. He doesn't know, and he says, "You take your hammer, you go ask him." And then they call cut, and he goes and has some tea with Robert Downey Jr. That's how that works. He's not sitting there like, Okay, so if Marvel and Disney, he's not like thumbing through the contracts and
it's
stuff.
like we know Marvel Studios and Marvel Entertainment are two separate entities, and so the comics are published by this guy, but the movies are made by these guys. Yeah, it's
I don't even know what movie she's in. That's fine. She gets sides and script pages. She goes and shoots the thing. So whatever. I think it's a lot of press, but come on. But yeah, as far as Stan Lee goes, I mean, it does sound like at least J.C. Lee and potentially the Lee family has some issues with Disney and Marvel overall, which that would certainly suck because that's not good to hear.
That's not good to hear.
I mean, no one is going to like act like Disney and Marvel are like these like benevolent organizations that are like, so like they don't need to be like necessarily defended on that. I'm just saying like the issue is so murky and scary to talk about.
Marvel is my best friend, right? Oh. What are you talking about? They love
Marvel
me.
loves you.
I have really bad news for you.
Personally.
They love me and I love them.
And they only want to make me happy.
I love brands.
I love brand. All right. Speaking of some more brands, boom, killed it. We have got another update in the streaming wars.
Oh my god.
Well, ships at sea. Oh, hey.
Streaming wars.
Now by ships at sea, you mean people on the ocean thinking about what stars they want to put together.
Yes, absolutely. Alrighty, so earlier this week, Apple released the trailer for The Morning Show, their first original series. According to the Financial Times, they have spent hundreds of millions of dollars alone on the, star-studded series featuring Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, and Steve Carell. According to people familiar with the matter, that amounts to a higher price per episode than Game of Thrones, which reportedly cost $15 million for each episode of its final season. The reason why The Morning Show costs so much, we've got to assume it's the cast. If you're Apple, you want to make a big splash with The Streaming Wars with your first series. Does it make sense to spend that much money for Steve Carell?
No, but they don't know what they're doing. That's fine. Like, the people going to Apple for money are like, yeah, sure. It's like the military when you get like a $50,000 hammer or something like that. They're like, yeah, that's how much props cost. They got to be Hollywood grade props.
Well, we got to make this office building look real.
Yeah, you got to build a real office building.
We got Aniston and Carell, who both came off of being able to negotiate massive like salary increases on the last seasons of the shows they were on. So they're probably like, well, that's what we were making on our last show, so we're just going to go ahead and keep making that same money now. Can't see why that would be a bad idea.
Well, my favorite is I watched the trailer for this, which if you don't know, it's like about a Matt. It seems like Steve Carell is like a Matt Lauer type who has a downfall from This Morning Show, and so now Jennifer Aniston is like the one left, and then they bring in Reese Witherspoon to be like her replacement. But what I love is like such the non-reality of the fact that Reese Witherspoon is playing Jennifer Aniston's replacement, but she's like 7 years younger than her, because it's like Reese Witherspoon in reality is 7 years younger than Jennifer Aniston. It's obvious, and it's literally me like saying like I'm glad they went with two stars that they like, because the reality would be she would be 25. Like they cast Reese Witherspoon from like 1998, Reese Witherspoon, and like ported her into this thing, because it's like I just think it's very like it's such a thing of like, well, we just like these two actors, we're going to cast them in these roles, because the sad reality is that they would never replace a network would never replace what they think of as an aging newswoman really unfairly with someone slightly younger. They always would go like scour the college tapes.
Oh God!
No, it's true. It's my chair. My chair started sinking as I said that. My chair was disappointed in that.
You're not allowed to emote, Dan.
I love the concept that like there's a network that's just like, we're replacing this aging woman with a slightly younger woman.
Never happened. Oh, also,
no. Sadly. It should be just let's find another great person.
A good person.
That's not how it goes.
Gross. So this is per EW. HBO Max has greenlit a prequel to Practical Magic, which came out in 1998. It's about a family of witches.
It is.
Yeah, that's what it is. It will focus on the younger versions of the Stockard Channing and Diane Wiest characters from the film. Remember, they were the kooky old aunts or whatever.
Never seen it. More of a hocus pocus guy.
That's fair. At one point, they do make tequilas and margaritas, and they dance in the kitchen, and that's all I remember.
The coconut?
I believe
right?
they do the lime and the coconut.
Both up.
So it's going to have Jessica Jones, Melissa Rosenberg, and Diana Barada behind the Rules of Magic series. I can already tell that we're so excited to talk about it. So we're going to go ahead and say, no, this is not something we would expect to hear, right?
Don't you put words in my mouth, Danielle. I'm not surprised at all. I guess that for me, I'm going to have to let go of thinking about HBO Max in terms of what HBO would, because it's Warner Brothers more than just HBO. But I think
Arise,
given the popularity of, I think witches are having a huge comeback.
That's true.
Witches are the new zombies.
So hot right now.
You've got Sabrina, you've got the Craft remake coming out, you've got
Sorry, I apologize.
Other witches.
But always a discovery of witches. The
Witcher.
The one that's The Witcher. The one that's on CW. It's the remake of the old Charmed.
Charmed, yeah.
Witches are having a really big moment, and I think that there's this element of how do we appeal to young women to get them to sign up for the service, because HBO Max, we've already got the nerd market covered with this new Doctor Who deal and stuff like that. So let's gotta get this. They're clearly building a genre front, and to have it be the one who having Melissa Rosenberg and Jessica Jones coming in to do it, it feels not surprising to me at all. Because Practical Magic is one of those movies that amongst a certain exact age of women is very big cult following.
You
and
mean
it's
our
very,
age?
Yes, yeah.
you mean us?
Yeah, me and my friends.
If you peaked in '98,
And I did.
But so I think that it's not a mainstream franchise, and I think that's why they're hey, here's a thing that has a really rabid fan base, and if we can make a show that's hitting into a popular genre right now, I think that I can see why they did it.
Very smart. Astute observation. So one last thing, this is via the New York Times. Martin Scorsese's The Irishman theatrical plan is still not in place. Talks between Netflix and major movie chains have reportedly been dragging on for months, according to the New York Times, with both sides disagreeing on the specifics of that theatrical window. So beyond Netflix, we still have no idea where audiences are going to be able to see this movie. The Irishman does not have a set release date, but it will make its world debut at the New York Film Festival next month. I know that, Dan, this is a movie that you're super psyched for.
It is. I was...
He's been digitally de-heightened.
And I was reading that AMC...
Did you piss off Beetlejuice and he just sprinkled?
Yeah, he sprinkled the dust on me and
Yeah.
I've shrunken. I was reading that AMC, they want 3 months. Which is the standard window, and of course Netflix is no, we have subscribers, and so, but the other thing that I was reading was that part of the thing that they negotiated with Scorsese was, of course we're going to get you a theatrical release. So now it's okay, you've got Scorsese on one corner, you've got Netflix in the other corner, and you've got the theater chains in the other corner. And I think the difference between this and Roma is that Roma was I'm not going to fight this chair. I'm just going to do this.
I just this is a thing you really wanted to talk about right when it comes up is when this all happens.
They didn't even report box office numbers for Roma.
Right.
Whereas this movie reportedly had $150 million budget because of all the effects and stuff. And also they depending on the different sources that you read, guaranteed a wide theatrical release. So it's not like Roma, where you have a smaller movie. This is a far more mainstream movie than Roma was. And also, you kind of need it to be out there beyond just being on your platform. I think you need some return on investment of it. So this may actually be one of the first times where the chains have a little bit of leverage over Netflix, because I don't really know if Netflix can afford to be the one that just walks away and says, okay, fine, whatever, you don't get our movie, because you have a filmmaker in one corner who I think is expecting his movie to be seen on the big screen
and expecting to be eligible for that Oscar.
And you also have an investment that's so large that I think you need to see some of those box office dollars flow back, particularly when Netflix has been seemingly on the verge of losing some ground. This will be right on the precipice or the heels of Disney Plus launching. So I'm very curious to see how this standoff resolves itself.
Is there any element, though, that maybe I think you're 100% right about that, but do you think that Netflix maybe is hesitant to want to admit that, because if they admit that they have to put this movie in theaters for a long time to make its profit back, they're also then admitting that their service does not necessarily yield a return on investment for filmation?
They can't admit weakness right now.
No.
They're not
Not
in
right
a market
now.
position to admit weakness right now, because they just had a huge, by Wall Street standards, a huge subscriber loss, et cetera. So that's the other thing, is you have a company that really cannot financially afford to put themselves in any position that says oh, we're not in a very strong place right now.
Because last year's Oscars with Roma, there was the big argument over whether or not a movie made by a streaming company should be eligible for the Oscar to begin with, and that back and forth. So for them, in a way, to be like, well, what if we release a movie in a traditional release fashion? It's almost like they're saying, yeah, you're right, I guess we have to do it. Like, yeah, sure, a stream movie can win the Oscar as long as it's released in theaters for 3 months before it's streamed, and then it becomes any other movie, basically.
Yeah. It's this is really going to be like a who blinks first situation. But I don't know if Netflix can afford to not blink first a little bit. I don't know.
Alrighty. Well, next, I know you're all very excited for it. We've got MoviePass news! MoviePass finds another way to screw over customers just when you thought they found them all. This is via Variety. MoviePass confirmed that a security issue may have exposed customers' records online, including credit card info. And I've got a producer's note here. L-O-friggin-L. News of the data breach was first reported Tuesday by TechCrunch, well done team, which alleged that tens of thousands of customer records were left exposed on the internet, including MoviePass card numbers and personal credit card data, because a critical server was not protected with a password, which feels like the easiest thing. This computer has a password on it, and it has no one's credit card info.
Yeah.
It's not like MoviePass doesn't understand passwords because they were able to change all their customers' passwords.
Right. So. Did you guys talk about that when they were changing the biggest users' passwords? Okay.
So you couldn't watch like Endgame or I think it was Mission Impossible Fallout. Yeah.
Wow.
So MoviePass issued a statement. I'm assuming it was Chloe, the director of marketing.
From Chloe, the director of marketing. It's been a rough time for our IT department.
MoviePass takes this incident seriously and is dedicated to protecting our subscribers' information, a spokesperson said. We are working diligently to investigate the scope of this incident and its potential impact on our subscribers. Once we gain a full understanding of the incident, we will promptly notify any affected subscribers and the appropriate regulators or law enforcement. This announcement came 2 weeks after a Business Insider report accused the company of changing user passwords the summer of 2018. MoviePass has been out of commission since June 3rd.
What does that mean?
They said that they had to... They said that they had to update their app.
Okay.
And so in order to do that, they had to take everything offline until further notice.
So
we're done.
We're done. Yeah. We're done.
We're done. They're done. As a former customer, I'm not exactly freaking L'ing about this.
No. I had that for a while, and it's not super exciting.
That's not
Ryan.
great.
Well, the freaking is supposed to imply that it's a disaster.
The freaking does imply that it's an disaster.
Yeah,
well done.
I mean, it's like it's the producers of the Silicon Valley world at this point. It's a complete and utter catastrophe, no matter how you look at it. It's shocking.
I think it's failed on every single. It's a 4-quadrant failure.
It's a distillation of the American dream, or you know, the hubris that comes before a fall of them just knowing that their business didn't make money. Never made money and didn't make sense. They were just buying movie tickets and then giving them away for less money than they bought them for. And they're like, we'll figure it out, guys. Yep. We'll just figure it out later. Everything's going to be fine.
It's the Fire Fest of movie passes.
It's the Fire Fest of business, which was also the Fire Fest of business. Just selling a dream. You know, it makes me proud to be an American.
That was actually the Fire, like, what's his name? The Fire Fest guy. That was his whole plan ahead of time, was he would like buy concert tickets and sell them back to money and then like, oh, somehow this is gonna work. Steal underpants, fix stage 2, profit. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I also, why is it so hard to keep credit card information safe? Like every week, it feels like this place, 1 million credit cards were stolen. It's like at this point, we should just accept that our credit cards are all stolen, and like they should just find a way to like everyone to get like 3 years of credit card monitoring every. I don't know. It's just like. I already
have that
shouting at the sky
because they also.
That's what I'm saying. Even the credit card, like tracking agencies, can't keep credit card information safe. It's like it is somehow the easiest to hack thing across the board. I don't understand why we haven't gotten to a point in this year. That's why I don't want to like be libelous, but I also wonder like if somebody who had access to the server was like, well, this place is going down. I can probably sell these off to make a quick buck. I don't know. Yeah, you know, like
that was Chloe, the director of marketing.
But I don't get how in 2019 at this point we haven't figured out a better way to secure credit card information.
That's
we didn't
use a password.
That's true.
It's like, at least if your first line of defense is password, if you can't get that far, then I don't know.
We've invented locks. They just didn't lock the door.
Credit cards.
The Cartoon Club and Roger Rabbit had a password. Passwords are not a new invention. They've been around for decades.
Yeah. I also like that it was Walt Sent Me, which is like the easy, like the biggest animator in the world. Cool. What a secret.
All right. So before we leave, what is all of our next prediction for the next thing we're going to find out that MoviePass screws up on?
Oh no! This is it'll be like the last scene of Boiler Room, where we will go to MoviePass for a comment, and it'll be like they never existed at all. It'll just be a bunch of phones like sitting in an empty room.
And somewhere Giovanna Ribisi is crying, "My arm was broken.
I just wanted you to be proud of me.
Help your son! Help your son!"
This is not the first time we've been talking about Boiler Room this week.
Who would have thought that Vin Diesel would be the biggest star to come out of Boiler Room?
I know, right? Well, Affleck or Diesel.
Yeah, but he was already
right now, in this year, would you say Affleck or Diesel is currently a more marketable star?
Wow.
Domestically or internationally?
The fact that we have to ask is like amazing.
Internationally, Diesel.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, you guys heard it from Dan. It is official. And thank you all so much for joining us. Again, the link is in the description below if you want to learn about things that are important, that affect all of our lives. And we will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.